Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Starfield perspective. And I did not like this game. And that is a weird thing for me to say because I've got to quantify this stuff. Alright, I got Xbox Game Pass, so I tested this out. This is a Bethesda game. New IP. I started with Bethesda games with Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion on the Xbox 360. I had rented the game from Hollywood Video, which was a Blockbuster competitor at the time, and I know that's dating myself and everything, and I'm like, oh, you're an old fucking asshole. It's like, yeah, but still, I rented it, and I got engrossed in the world, and then I eventually bought the game and the strategy guide, and I got the DLCs, and I just loved the world of Tamriel, and learning about stuff and going around and questing and learning about stuff. This then led me to other Bethesda games of going into Fallout 3. Now granted, I understand that this was more of a different kind of take on the Fallout franchise than what had normally been done, but it followed along similar lines of what I had encountered in Oblivion, except in this case, instead of a fantasy, it was sci-fi post-apocalyptic and like apocalypsed Washington, D.C., where I was just putzing around, had my Pip-Boy on, listening to some weird fucking 50s-ass music as I'm getting, like, a Lincoln repeater and interesting cool loot and going around and learning about things and having quests and adventures in an RPG setting. And it got me with those two franchises, then eventually leading me to Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim, and that one I really liked because of Dovahkiin, Dragonborn, and like going after all the dragons and everything, and everything that kind of entailed with that. I really liked Skyrim, and I had a really lot of fun with it. However, we then get to Fallout 4. They're starting to change some stuff up. Your protagonist is now voiced, whereas before you would pick certain kind of dialogue options and kind of go from there and see how like people react. Now you kind of talk. The weapons are done more in a real mod kind of style. You got more kind of almost MMO kind of aspects getting in the effect with kind of Radiant quests, which are essentially just like copy and paste kind of things like, oh, you got to do this and defend this outpost and shit like that in your settlements, and putting in settlement building for some kind of odd reason. It's like, okay, I don't really kind of want to deal with this. It almost makes more sense of what the stuff that they were adding in would have been added into the Like a Dragon series, the Yakuza series. And strangely enough, playing this made me appreciate the Yakuza series, the Like a Dragon series, more. Because you're going to hear some stuff that I'm talking about this, and you're going to be like, what's kind of going on here? And I'm going to be comparing it to Like a Dragon, because even though Like a Dragon has certain kind of similar issues, they at least have like the honest ability to attempt to iterate on certain kind of things, whether it works or not. So Fallout 4 was kind of a weird one for me. I'm like, okay, I kind of had some fun. Apocalyptic Boston, nuclear wasteland kind of stuff. Going around looking at stuff, I'm like, alright. I did not really play Fallout 76. I've done stuff with it because there were like Game Pass quests and whatnot. But I knew that Bethesda was kind of losing its way, and ZeniMax as well, as Fallout 76 was not a good launch. They were attempting to do live service. They had worked MMO style at Elder Scrolls Online. I played that and I had fun with it. Though granted, I played it more almost as like a single player game just to get like an Elder Scrolls kind of thing going on, more than an actual kind of MMO kind of thing. However, MMOs get kind of bogged down in certain kind of like, you have to churn out content, so quests pretty much are kill this, grab this, deliver that kind of nonsense, with other kind of campaign things sometimes sprinkled in throughout that are done on more kind of set piece, bigger kind of scales. I bring that up because this, for some odd reason, has decided to take the tactic of almost of a roguelike as well and bolt on a lot of MMO bullshit for padding, and it's just like, what the fuck? My biggest issue with this is that it is boring and shows no true innovation in what's going on in making these kind of games. The reason I feel so strongly about this game is because I have played other Bethesda titles before this. And I'm like, granted. Because at first when I played this on Game Pass, I'm like, oh, this is a Bethesda game in space. And then I waited because I'm like, oh, I'm going to play this around the end of the year. Let's see what goes on. Because I have a kind of system where it's like, okay, I see what kind of games are coming out. I kind of do it so that way people can, like, it's like, that way I don't get into a kind of issue where people are like, what do you want gift-wise? It's like, how about these things? And then by that point, they've also become discounted as well for sales and everything. So it's my weird kind of strategy. So yes, this came out in September and all that, but I was like, oh, it's a Bethesda game in space. But then after I'm playing this, I'm like, it's a Bethesda game in space. I've already kind of played these, and I've played better games. Like, this is worse Skyrim with the worst kind of bits of Fallout kind of put on in this. And if this is your first Bethesda title, you're not going to truly kind of understand where I'm kind of coming from. And that's okay, because I had my first Bethesda game, and granted, there could be other people that before me are like, I've already played a Bethesda game, and this is the kind of issues. I'm like, I've gotten to that point now, so, And again, I'm not attempting to take anyone's enjoyment away. I hate that. I don't like to shit on that shit for people. It's wrong. But for me, this was boring, and I was kind of flabbergasted of what kind of went on, because I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great thing in space, and I didn't really feel great in space. The space combat, you kind of get fucked over on your starting ship, and then I pretty much had to, bull rush my way through one of these places to actually get a decent ship that I then used for the rest of the entirety of the game. And the rest of the systems are just kind of bolted on, and I felt more like I was playing more of a loading screen game than anything else. And I know that sounds weird, and you're probably like, whoa, you're being kind of hyperbolic there. It's like, that was the feeling I get, because there's a lot of loading screens of what kind of goes on in this. And it's dealt down to the fast travel and how you do systems and everything. There's like all these fucking planets and everything, but I felt bored with them and didn't care to really explore them. I explored in Cyrodiil and Skyrim and Washington, D.C. and Boston and the Fallouts and the Elder Scrolls. Here, I didn't care, because most of them weren't really handcrafted to let you, go and fuck off with. Now, granted, most of the stuff in there wasn't really handcrafted as either, probably. It's just, oh, okay, similar kind of dungeons going through and everything. However, you need incentive to go into those planets and into those dungeons. And this has worse kind of incentives, because you either have to do this outpost shit to do EXP grinding, and just do truly boring kind of shit to kind of level up to do your stuff, and then you have to use certain kind of things to be able to utilize the skill points to do it. So it's like the carrying capacity. You have to sprint around for so many thousands of meters to then put 4 things into it to max out the amount of things that you can carry. It's like, that's fucking stupid. And this is the thing where you're trying to get loot. However, going through this thing, the loot was fucking shit. I would be using guns for an inordinately long amount of time, and then I would have to try and get into this fucked up modding system to try and make things either better or whatnot, and I just didn't really give that much of a shit. So I just stuck with the gun, because the shooting really didn't really matter. Yeah, it would take a while if it was a bullet spongy, but you're not going to really find much better gear, because trust me, I'm a fucking loot goblin motherfucker. I will go into shit to try and get shit, which then leads me to lock picking, which fucking sucks. And then most of the time, I'd spend an inordinate amount of time trying to make sure that I got through this lock picking thing and not spend out all of my digipicks, which is a lock picking system. And all I would get would either be credits or things that I either didn't need, want, or care about. And then I'm like, I don't really want to do this shit anymore. And that's just going through the game, just destroying my will to even interact with it. So I just did the Freestar Collective thing to be like a space cowboy, and the UC Colony thing to deal with their Terramorph things, and those are the main kind of other plot lines besides the main story. And then the other MMO kind of aspect got into the effect that, like, they would just bombard you with quests, and most of the ones with the activities are just stupid copy-paste bullshit that it's like, wow, this gave me like 100 XP, which isn't really a lot, or 75 XP, and like a couple hundred credits or 1,000 credits. And the thing is, I really didn't spend credits on much. I ended the game at like 500,000, and I didn't really do much with the shipbuilding because lots of it's expensive, and I didn't really want to fuck with it to try and do anything with it. And again, you needed the skills to actively fucking do it. And it's like, I'm not having fun with this, and I'm bored. What the actual fuck? And nothing, I'm like, when I'm thinking more with the quest of like, I gotta go through all these different kind of loading screens of getting up into orbit, or just flashing over to this, going into this spot to then get to this other kind of loading screen. It's just loading screen, loading screen, loading screen. I'm like, because the space doesn't lend to it very well of you actively exploring. It's just, it was just so... It's not even bad. I think it's bad game design, but it was just so boring. I didn't want to play and interact with anything, because I'm like, I'm not getting better gear, and the only way to get the better gear is to go through the roguelike thing and go through the main story. So I've talked about all these different kind of aspects. I know it's kind of strange because there's no kind of complete order and structure to this, but they kind of dovetail together in how it kind of works, going from the loading screens, the loot, all the MMO aspects, and then getting to the roguelike aspects that fight with the fucking MMO aspects. So, main story is you're this miner dude, or dudette, miner person. You're like, alright, go touch this fucking artifact thing. You touch the artifact, you get this fucking vision thing, and then this dude from Constellation, this explorer place, is like, hey, I came for that thing, and I came for you, so go take the ship and do it. And you do your tutorial shit. You get to Constellation, like, let's go find more of these things. And that's the main story. You got introduced to certain kind of members of Constellation, but I didn't really care much about them. I only did the Sarah chick because she was there at the first, and I did her companion quest, and I'm like, alright. Like, most of them didn't draw me in. Most of them didn't draw me in of, like, what was going on in Oblivion, understanding the Emperor, and trying to go and save Cyrodiil from the Daedric Princes. Or in Skyrim, trying to understand the Civil War that is going on and is gripping there, and also trying to figure out how to stop what is going on with the dragons there. Or in Fallout, trying to understand the complexities of, like, the Brotherhood of Steel and everything that goes on in there. Here, I just didn't care about these characters. This is not on the best kind of par. Sure, that's a me problem. That's fine. It's just when I played this, I didn't care about the characters. And then the main quest is just go collect these artifacts and then eventually unlock these powers that are like the dragon shouts in Skyrim. However, in order to get those powers, which granted, I only used one power, and it didn't really do much, and I didn't use any of the other powers or anything. I collected them, but that was it, because the whole system is, oh, we gotta build this thing. And then you collect the amount in the campaign, and you build the thing, and it's this Unity thing. You learn that it is a multiversal thing. Now granted, this has the bad timing of the multiverse has blown up, and everybody and their grandma's got a fucking multiverse now. Granted, I don't really fault this thing for it. I mean, from what I was reading, development of this started in 2015, so that's a long development cycle. I don't think this is a thing of jumping on the multiverse bandwagon. However, it's just really not conducive to what's going on, because you're trying to learn, oh, who created these artifacts? You still don't learn. You just learned that, like, people like these Starborn, which are just people, the emissary who's like, we gotta control these artifacts. The hunter's like, I just want them for all the power. And then I was like, at this point, fuck both of y'all. Y'all fucking suck. And fought them both in this crazy kind of shit. Like, one campaign mission kind of apes the Titanfall mission, except it's not as good. The Titanfall 2 mission was better in what was dealing with, like, time and everything like this. This was, like, going back and forth between different dimensions, different alternate universes, and I was able to, like, thread it to pretty much make sure that, like, everybody survived. I'm like, alright. It just didn't grip me. I didn't care about the characters because they're doing the same stuff that they've done in other games, and that's what hit me. I'm like, this is just the same stuff they've done. There's no innovation on it. Like, I saw this Nikki Jakey video that had the title of, like, outdated quest design. I've not watched that video yet because I wanted to do my own kind of review. I'm like, that's kind of weird to do it. My own perspective on it. I always kind of watch out for that kind of shit. Sometimes I'll get, like, a general consensus of what's kind of going on with a game, movie, or show, but I always want to try and experience it myself, understand my thoughts and feelings, and then kind of see what the kind of pulse is, see what kind of lines up, and if it's just me, or if other people are having certain kind of problems or whatnot, and what we can learn from certain kind of things. I'll watch that at some point because he does good videos. I like him as a content creator, and I've liked what he's done with other stuff, but I was like, shit, this is just the same shit. Now, let's get to the comparison, like, because you're going through, and then you got that thing at the end, and you've got a choice. You can either stay in your universe or go through, and then you can just keep going through, powering yourself up and collecting the artifacts, and I'm like, I don't care. You go into another universe, you lose all your shit except your levels and your skills. You get a new set of clothing and a new ship, and then you can go about collecting the artifacts and powering up your powers, going up to like 10 times or whatnot. I was not invested in the world. I didn't want to learn about the characters. I didn't want to, because it would entail the same kind of gameplay that I was bored with. It wasn't fun. It's not like Halo where I could go through and do some different kind of stuff. Fuck, it wasn't even on the level of Yakuza where, okay, Yakuza Like a Dragon, sorry, like, it's always hard to figure out which one would be the best way to kind of say it. The Like a Dragon series, even though there are fundamental fucking problems with that, their side stories at least have plot progression on the front of certain kind of things, even though they don't have the most kind of different kind of aspects of what you're going to do. Sometimes they change up certain kind of ways of what's kind of going on. I'm saying this because also Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth will be out this month, and they're introducing an Animal Crossing kind of aspect thing into it that I'll at least kind of play through to kind of see if that's something that, like, my mom's interested in, because she's into Animal Crossing, and if it's a kind of different kind of take on it that introduces some aspects that you would like, I would like to look into that. And it's a turn-based RPG, JRPG, and I'm always kind of interested in that. Now, granted, I would have to play the kind of mini game, not mini game, the smaller game of Gaiden to figure out what's going on with Kiryu, but I've seen that that's kind of shorter and everything, which actually might be in my favor. Granted, you'll probably be like, well, why are you saying that? You really have a lot of problems with the Like a Dragon series. Well, I do. But then I get to something like this, and it actually makes me appreciate the weird kind of crazy-ass shit that kind of goes on. I kind of also want to see how they evolve their JRPG aspects in Infinite Wealth. I might not get it day one, but I'm trying to get as many physical fucking things as possible. And they're bringing that out physically. But with Like a Dragon, they at least, okay, even though I'm like, they don't learn from their, they keep having the same kind of stuff, overstuffed, all these kind of things, at least there are some kind of progressions. They change up how fighting styles are done. They change up how you interact with the side quests and what you kind of get from them, what they kind of influence the stories about, of what goes on within even the side quest world or the main quest world and all that kind of stuff. They give you other kind of, even full-ass fucking games like the Animal Crossing kind of bit that we're getting in Infinite Wealth, or the business management within Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's why it's so fucking confusing. Motherfucker. Like a Dragon 7? Yes. Sorry, Zero's also involved, so it's technically 8, but that's technically 7. Fuck me! Sorry, off track. But still, there's at least an attempt to drive certain kind of things forward in the game, even though there are certain aspects that I think they need to drive forward more. They at least attempt. This, I got none of that. There are the new systems of, like, space combat, but, like, okay, you needed to have that because it's a space game, unless you don't have space combat and you essentially just do portals, which I actually, since you did Oblivion, which had portals, I honestly would have rather fucking taken, because after the first couple of bits with the flying combat, I was like, I'm kind of done here. And it's just everything works against it for me, where it makes it boring. Not just, like, bad, like, the game works even though there's, like, some weird fucking aspects that would pop up or whatnot. But, and there's the usual Bethesda bugs and glitches that occur. But the biggest thing is, this isn't like a bad game where I had to fight the controls, or I had to fight what's kind of going on. There's bad game design and everything that kind of hit it on me that's like, this is boring. At least with a bad game, I can either, like, understand my frustration and try to kind of, like, get through it or whatnot, or understand where my feelings are kind of coming from with a certain kind of thing, like Deadly Premonition, or definitely with its controls, or like I'm recently playing Resident Evil 4 Remake, and getting used to those controls is just like, oh, what the fucking shit. We will talk more about that one later. But when I'm talking about my feelings for, like, a game or something, I can handle a bad thing if I can learn something of what's kind of going on and be like, yeah, this felt like a waste of time. This was more of like, I learned that I'm pretty much done with Bethesda games as they are now. Like, I will have to wait for reviews. They need to truly, like, change up their formula. This is just their same game, except just done in space. Oh yeah, also, when you're getting your powers, it's the same kind of temple. Sorry, like, it's, you just go in and you fly around stupid kind of things, and then you go through a like, circular ring. And you do that for all of your powers. I needed to bring that up. But this, it's just so boring. It's like, wow. I'm like, wow, I just had my time completely wasted because I didn't get anything from this. I didn't understand, like, granted, I did get stuff of, like, what's wrong with this game design. But, like, from the story kind of aspect, from the characters, I got nothing. Like, didn't get any enjoyment or sadness or anger or depression of what was kind of going on with certain kind of characters, or kind of feeling anything for them. And that's a big thing for me. And especially since I'm more of a story-driven kind of gamer. And granted, I also do like really fun and engaging gameplay as well, like Halo. That really gets me. It's like, yeah. Even though you can say that that's repetitive, I get that, but you can, depending upon what difficulty you're in and what kind of level you're in, it changes up how you go through it. Like Doom is actually like when you're doing Doom, it's kind of like you're put into a kill box, and the kill box is the puzzle. And the thing is, you can keep replaying it, but you can figure out different ways to kind of solve the puzzle. So it's never really truly the same one-to-one of what's kind of going on. Granted, you can do some of that a little bit in here, but most of it is like you're not going to have better kind of gear or better kind of upgrades in the traditional sense of, I found this random fucking gun here. And it does awesome things and makes giant holes into a Cthulhu dimension where a hentai motherfucker rips my enemies apart and does some weird kind of shit. No, the gameplay didn't engage me. Fighting the characters didn't engage me, and the levels didn't seem to matter worth shit. Neither did the fucking loot that I had when I was fighting. It was just, I've got a gun, let's see if I've got enough bullets to kill the bullet sponge motherfucker. Didn't even use the powers, didn't even, barely used them. I'm like, it was nuts, because this was one of the studios that I was really great into because of the single player games, and I would just have fun figuring out what was in the world and then putting it down and being like, yeah, this was kind of cool. I had fun with this. And I didn't have fun with this. And that really affected me because it's like the decline of kind of anything at a certain point. But like Halo, with the differences of shifting between Bungie and 343. It's just, this one is like, wow, this is where I fall off on the Bethesda games. It's like, shit. Which is weird because Xbox acquired Bethesda. And it's now like, I've got to wait for what's going on. Extensively test it with Game Pass as a rental kind of thing. And because I don't expect to have the best shooting mechanics in the world, but I expect it to be more than just what we got in this. And it was just like, damn. Because I was going for the narrative, and that can help gloss over other things, but the narrative just did nothing. And I was just really affected by that. I'm like, damn. So, I wouldn't really recommend this game for RPG people, for story people. Definitely not for combat people. But if you had fun with it, I'm glad about that. I want you to have fun with this. And to get those kind of things that I didn't get out of it. I'm fine with that. I'm happy about that. I'm glad about that. I just have to watch more, look more into certain kind of reviews before those kind of things. Even though it's like, hey, you don't want to. You said you don't want to look into certain kind of reviews to affect your kind of perspective. And yeah, it's mainly into kind of like main kind of ones. But this was like $69.99. Now, granted, holidays it was cheaper. Games are going to be getting more expensive, and spending your time, your money on these kind of games, they've got to do more than what they're doing. And Bethesda has now shown that they need to now be in my column of wait and see even more. Of just, boom. Like, granted, I didn't even pre-order that or whatnot, but I was like, oh yeah, this will be kind of one of my holiday games. And I was very much looking forward to it, and I was very disappointed, and that sucks. But we'll see what kind of goes on. I might check into the DLC because I also got the premium upgrade for it. But I'm not going to do much onto it probably because the core of it doesn't interest me. And that's pretty much that. But I want you to know that if you liked it and had fun with it, that's the awesome and cool bit. Me, I just didn't have that fun. So those are my opinions on the game. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.